Hey Patreon, it's Genghis here for part 2 of Genghis Girls. So the first part that we started on the eyes. This is the same drawing from last time. I figured I just might as well just keep this drawing and just add to it. That way you can see the full progression of a piece. Please excuse the noise in the background. I am currently doing this video in the tattoo shop, Gold Stripe Tattoo. For some of you who may not know where I reside. But today we're gonna do the nose and the lips and probably the outer edge of the face. I decided I was gonna go ahead and reserve the hair for another time because there's quite a lot to touch on hair. I know doing hair sometimes makes people uncomfortable, so I will try my best to describe how I do things regarding hair. I know as far as everything else, it's kind of a weird way that I set everything up, and I apologize for that, but also I thank you dearly for subscribing to my channel and being even remotely interested in how I set up my pinups. But anyways, so usually after I am done drawing the eyes, I usually move on to the nose, and then after that the lips, and then after that I'll do the outside of the face. This is perfect for me because this upcoming weekend I'm doing another one of my freehand pinups, which for those of you who don't know what freehand is, when you tattoo something freehand, you don't do any pre-drawing beforehand, you don't do any stenciling, you don't do anything that pretty much sets up the design before you tattoo it. It's straight needle to skin and then you go from there. It's pretty scary for a lot of people. I personally like the challenge. Doing drawings like this is a really good exercise for me, especially since all the freehand things that I do are pinups. And with tattoos, you can't really afford to mess up. Once it's there, it's pretty much there forever, unless you get laser, but that's another story. Anyway, sorry about that. I had to take a phone call. I'm recording from my phone, so where was I? Oh, okay, so we were doing the bottom of the nose. So, right, so when I start to map out the nose, sometimes what you'll see me do is I'll go ahead and kind of just like mark where the top of the nose would be. You'll see me do that sometimes with the tattoos that I do, and the reason why I go ahead and put that there, I'm gonna go ahead and add a shadow there anyway, but I'll lightly mark it just so I know where the bottom of the nose, where I would like to place that. So when I'm doing the bottom of the nose, usually I kind of just start with the shadow. So with noses, especially on women, I don't really make the noses as prominent as the eyes. They're just not as important to me as the windows to the soul. So definitely want her to have a nose. So when the face is turned about 3/4, the nostrils on the nose are not going to be even. You're going to see one nostril more than the other. So do not make each nostril the same. So the one that's going to face the audience, that's the nostril that you'll probably see more of. The one on the other side, maybe just a little of it. It's the same thing with the eyes, how you'll see this eye a little bit more full than this one. It's the same thing that goes with anything on the face where one side has to match the other. When things get turned, it kind of throws that symmetry a little off. So again, same thing with the nose. So I go ahead and draw in those nostrils. So it's gonna look something like that. Okay. So sometimes, depending on how heavy I want the nose to be, if there's a lot of shadows in the picture, or I don't know, if I want to go a little bit more dramatic, especially with tattoos, because a lot of times with tattoos, you want to add a little bit more shadow. That way the tattoo kind of pops off the skin a little bit more. So usually with the shadows, what I'll do is, so this line in the bottom, or the top part of the nostril, when I add the shadows, I always add like almost like a highlight around where the nostril would be. And that highlight would meet the side of the nostril like that. I don't know if you can see it all that well. I would adjust the camera right now, but I'm afraid I'm gonna knock it off out of where it's supposed to be. But I'll do that the same thing over here. I'll try to darken it actually, that way you can see it a little bit better. So I'll darken the bottom here, and darken it here, and darken it here, and then I'll darken where the shadows usually lay. And you could see this gap between the nostril and where the shadow starts to take place. And then kind of just to make it look like there is a little bit of roundness of the nose, I add a shadow that kind of suggests so. Okay. And I'll go ahead and shade it in. This is kind of a little bit more exaggerated, that way you can kind of see it a little bit better. Actually, and then when we're done with this, I'm just gonna go in and darken this up. I think because I've been carrying it around so much, some of this stuff is wiped off. But we'll go ahead and add more shadows, which is something that I do anyway when I'm doing pinups and stuff, especially with your hand when it's moving across the paper. It tends to pick up some of that lead and makes it come off. Okay, so now we have a shadow at the bottom of the nose. I want to make it a little bit more dynamic. I'll add a shadow down at the bottom here. You don't always see me do this, and then sometimes you do see me do this. Again, it really depends on how heavy I want those shadows to appear on the face. Okay. Now she's got a little shadow underneath her nose. Again, I had to take a phone call. My mom actually might be stopping by here soon. My mom is from out of town. She is from Florida. Well, she's from San Diego, but she's visiting in Florida, so she's seeing if I'm here at the shop right now, and she might pay a visit, so I might have to take another break here in a second. But anyways, try to get through this damn face. So, so now we're gonna add the mouth. Mouths, I usually like them to be pretty full. Of course, this is kind of a basic mouth. She doesn't really have much expression, which we'll get into expressions probably a little later. Okay, so marked about where I want her mouth to go. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and darken up where the lips meet. I kind of usually like to give the cracks of the mouth kind of a little bit more of a shadow. That whole little Mona Lisa sort of mouth crack thing. I don't even know really what that is. I should probably look that up so I can give you guys kind of a little bit more technical terms things. Anyways, so with the lips, as I said, I do like them a little bit more full. Give her a little bit of a Cupid's bow. And the bottom lip. Okay, so since the nose kind of suggests there's a heavy shadow, that kind of, the light source technically would be coming from about here. So what I like to do is add shadow underneath the mouth, because if she has nice puffy mouths that protrude, a nice puffy mouth that kind of protrudes out from her face, she's gonna have a shadow underneath her mouth. Now, for those of you who are tattooers that may or may not be following me to figure out how I freehand stuff, all these little marks that I made right here, if I were to do this on skin, I wouldn't use gray wash, and I wouldn't use any kind of things that will leave a permanent mark. What I would use is probably water. So like, a lot of times if I'm not really sure of what I'm going to do, I'll take water and just make little marks in the skin. They'll be there for me to use as a guide, but when it's healed, you won't even be able to see it anymore. And do that because, of course, again, when you tattoo something, it's there for life and you can't take it back once it's on there. So, okay, so with the lips, a lot of times I do like to make them kind of glossy. I do like to give them the appearance that they are kind of wet or moist, or she's got some sort of moisturizer on her lips. We don't like ashy lips. So how I usually do that is I'll go in there and I'll mark like where I want the shine on the lips to be. So usually it's about there, and usually I'll give a little bit of shine on the bottom lip. And sometimes, like I did with the nose, I will do like almost like a highlight on the bottom lip. So when I do that highlight, where that dark part is at the bottom of the lip, that's underneath the lip, I make a separate line from that. Okay? So go ahead and shade. When you shade though, you don't want to shade where the highlights would be. Highlights are usually defined by lack of tone, lack of color, lack of whatever, depending on what it is that you're doing. So I'll go ahead and fill in the lips, just making sure that I am not filling inside of those highlights, because again, it's not going to look good. I'll even go in and bounce some shadows, like heavier shadows, where that where the two, sorry, I'm like thinking and talking at the same time, where the two lips sort of meet, just to kind of give the mouth a little bit more of appearance that it is indeed round. We do like round lips. What I probably should start doing though is start doing these classes maybe on more of a like a brownish kind of paper. That way I can start doing the highlights. Like I can show you if I were doing like this as a tattoo, where those highlights would go. Maybe I should do a series on mouths too, because depending on the expression, of course, the lips always look so different. Yeah. And there's her mouth. Again, simple mouth. I didn't really choose anything too crazy. Last pinup that I did, she was smiling kind of big, so of course the expression would be just a little bit different. Now, before I close off the face, I'm going to go back and darken some of the things that I don't really feel are dark enough, which is a few things. So do that. Maybe even make her lips a little bit bigger. Why not? Fill them in just a little bit more. Make the shine on her lips a little bit more glossy. Before, we want the shadow on the top. I'm definitely going to be really nervous doing that damn pinup on Sunday. I don't draw nearly as much as I used to, so these videos too are kind of like a refresher for me, because I don't draw as much as I should. And sometimes the techniques that I've picked up throughout the years, I forgot a lot of them, which is kind of pathetic. But at the same time, as I'm sitting here doing these things and teaching you guys how to do this stuff, I'm starting to remember some of it, so that's good. That's important, because I do get paid big bucks to do this shit. So it's probably good that I would know how to do these things, you know? It's kind of scary for people to pay me for something that I really don't know how to do. A little bit more shadows. And a lot of the pinups that I'll show you how to do, you won't see these shadows. I just felt like doing these shadows today, so that's what you got. All right. So I'm sure I'll add more shading as we go. You know, you can always add. With tattoos though, you can't take away. So if you're ever unsure about something as you're tattooing a pinup like this, don't add it until you are sure, because again, you can always add, you can't take away. So let's go ahead and close off the face. You want to give her kind of more of a youthful appearance, and so how you're going to do that is you want to give her some cheeks. You want to give her a little meat in the face. Nice cheekbones. So again, because her face is turned, this side of the face is not going to look like this side of the face. You'll see more hair coming off of the head on this side than you will on this side. So this side is closed off by her cheek, by the side of her face, where this side is going to eventually be closed off by a hairline and ears and everything else that comes with the face. So when you see me doing these, again, so I'm trying to cater this to tattooers and non-tattooers. When you see me tattooing this, a lot of times you'll see me line it in gray, because I definitely want to be sure of the shape of her face before I go in there and hard line it. Because again, you can always add, you can't take away, and I'm not trying to permanently mess anybody up, so I'll go ahead. Never do that with a tattoo machine. Go ahead and do it lightly. Give her a chin. She has a very youthful face, and I like that. And I don't know if I said this in the previous video, but definitely be aware of all the different lines that you put in a face, because if you do put too many lines in a face, you can age a face very easily. And if we're going for beautiful pinups and stuff, not that saying people aren't attracted to older women, but usually pinups sell a lot better when they're youthful. So this is her jawline. There's going to be a lot of heavy shadows underneath there too. And it looks something like that. Okay. So here, I'm just going to put an earlobe for now. I'm not going to add the rest of the hair or anything until, I'm not going to close it off until we do the hair portion of it. I just got to figure out if I want a blonde or a brunette. They're both kind of executed very similar, but with the highlights on darker hair, the contrast is a lot more, so it takes a lot more effort to draw a brunette than a blonde. So I'll show the difference between those two. But yeah, there's a face. And hold on, I'm gonna turn you off for a second, that way I can give you more of a close-up. Be right back. About that, I had to find a place in the room where the glare and the shadows weren't gonna mess with it, because as you can see on there's like shadows and glare like everywhere. So anyways, this is what we got. Yeah, you can still see kind of a glare. Oh well. Well, you get the idea. So next one, we're gonna go ahead and start filling in her hairline, making her look a little bit more alive. But yeah, that is it for now. Yeah, and give her some cheekbones too. All those pretty things. Again, thank you for tuning in. I really do love all of you. I'm stoked to have 3 subscribers. I hope you enjoyed my video. Thank you very much. Have a good day.